as introduced, I'm David Webb. I'm Head of Innovation for the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles. I will say CCAV, CAM, a lot. I've been in the role for 2 years now, so I've been responsible for the 200 million that we've spent in the collaborative R&D and testbed space over the last 4 years, and currently working busily trying to get our bid in for the spending review. And as Ian and David have highlighted, it's a very important time for us. I'm going to give a quick introduction to CCAV. I know some of you already know the detail, but I'll go through that. Talk about what we've done, how we're unlocking the potential as we go forward, and then what the next steps are. So, CCAV's role is not just about autonomous or automated vehicles. We're also looking about how we change people's journeys in the future. How do we change UK's transport offering? Ian mentioned 93 million vehicles being sold. It's not just about turning them over to zero carbon. It's about reducing that number, giving people the option of another form of transport rather than Ian's 200-odd mile journey with 2 charges. What was an alternative to get him to his meeting efficiently, easily, affordably? So how do we do that? So my side of CCAV is all about the technology, all about the move to automation, and the other side, the future of transport side, looks at how do we do those changes, how do we encourage mobility as a service, and how do we change how people do those journeys. At the moment, my focus is on cars, trucks, and buses. We're starting to talk about rail with very light rail, and then maritime is one of those areas where what can we learn here with automation? Can we lend it over to them? What are they learning with their automation? Can we bring it over to us? So really just trying to grow the sectors that we're talking to and are interested in. As I mentioned, Future Transport Programme, lots of change before coronavirus in where we were pushing people onto public transport, encouraging public transport, and then coronavirus, no, it's all right, get in your own car, drive to work, it's probably safer that way. Now we need to break that habit again and bring people back to public transport by ensuring that it's better, it's more convenient, it's cheaper, it's a nice journey. It's not you stood on a tube crammed into somebody's armpit for 2 hours a day as you travel into work. So how do we do that? And part of that, there's the urban strategy that was published 2 years ago now, I think. I think we all forget that 2020 was a year, and there is a rural strategy on the works as well. So it's not just about, I think, again, Ian's picture of New York versus rural communities. We don't want that to happen as we move forward to the future. We want to bring everybody along on those journeys and potentially help the rural communities before we go to London and do it here. So, I have got the screen in front of me, I don't know why I keep looking up. So, the CAM programme. So, working with Zenzik, and Mark's in the room over in the corner, and Daniel's at the back as well, we slowly transitioned from CAV, Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, to CAM, Connected and Automated Mobility, highlighting that it's not just about a vehicle, it's about how the journey comes together, how the system comes together. So, we've been investing in innovation through collaborative R&D, supporting the development of safe and secure CAM technologies, capabilities and services. Again, it's not just about the vehicle. And we've been focusing on startups, scale-ups and SMEs. No offence to any of the OEMs in the room, but my personal opinion is you're not going to lead the CAM change. It is going to be the disruptive SMEs who are coming up with the new ideas and pushing those technologies forward. How do we do that? How do we bring them together with the OEMs to get that best solution for the UK? We've got a good track record so far. The DFT side of CCAV, so we are a joint unit, DFT and BAYS, very clear leadership in the regulatory pathway. How do we make it so CAM is viable, is legal, and can go on the roads? It's not a simple process. There are a few hurdles, but we're getting there. We've had a lot of successful trials, and we've got a few commercial deployments in the space as well. So how do we build on those, and how do we make that work? Some of that's helped by EU exit and our ability to change some of the rules ourselves, but we still work closely with you and ECE to make sure that we're globally aligned. And then at the bottom two, I've already mentioned the joint investment in R&D where I've led, and then the integrated testbed ecosystem where I've worked with Zenzik closely to build those 6 facilities under the CAM testbed banner. I'm not going to mention the KPMG report. I'm sure everybody's seen it. So clear regulatory pathway, as I've covered. AVA in 2018 was the first insurance act, so telling insurers what happens when an automated vehicle has an incident, and that will be applied next year when ALKS, Automated Lane Keeping System, hits our roads. The Law Commission has been looking at all of the laws around CAM. They finished this year, and then we've got a lot of work ahead of us to turn that into a bill and make those changes. CAVPAS, process for assuring safety and security. How do we do this? How do we make sure everything's safe on the roads? And then the code of practice, which is the guidance to how you do a trial in the UK, and we're looking to update that over the coming year or so. I've mentioned our investment in the R&D, 250 million into R&D since 2015, so a really good opportunity there. We've funded over 90 projects with 200 different organisations, and some of those organisations we've invested in early have gone on to very successful private investment rounds, and I hope to continue to build on that after this SR at the end of October. And I've mentioned CAM Testbed as well. So 200 million of co-investment, 100 from government, 100 from industry, and obviously we founded and co-founded Zenzik, who are hopefully going on and on and on. Clear regulatory framework, I've mentioned all of this. CAVPAS, so process for assuring safety and cyber security, it's a silent C in the acronym. Really complex, lots of different threads to come together. My main care is in the middle at the bottom, advanced trials. How do we go from onesies and twosies of vehicles on the road to tens and dozens of vehicles on the road? How do I get the safety driver out of the road? How do I deploy a brand new vehicle that's never been seen before safely in the UK? The code of practice gives us the starting point, but it doesn't cover us in every place. So advanced trials is my main input in that work and how we try and bring that forward. And hopefully a chunk of cash at spending review will help me do that. I mentioned the 90 projects and the 200 different organisations. The wheel here is from one of our published documents that we send out around the world to Department for Trade and International Investment. I'm struggling to remember the name of it, but I'll share a link later. And it just shows all the different areas where our projects have touched and the areas we're interested in. And there's a lot of overlap there to what we do with AESIN. So really just shows the breadth of projects. And we've got really good coverage of the UK as well. Our projects aren't all London-centred, and we do a lot around the country, and we're looking to expand that further. Human Drive, which Joe mentioned earlier, is the line that goes all the way up to Sunderland, and with the North East Automotive Alliance and some of the others up there, we're doing more work. So always good to get out of London and see where we can take these things elsewhere. Just going to cover a couple of the high-profile trials from this year going into next year. So TCABs ran in June and July this year in Cambridge. They operated a number of their custom-designed autonomous shuttles, electric, taking people from a car park for Cambridge University into the city centre. Really successful, was delayed due to coronavirus, but we got a lot of people onto those shuttles and a lot of good positive feedback. Project Endeavour, led by Oxbotica, was our first multi-city CAM trial. So they deployed in Oxford, Birmingham and London, learning each city as they went, and took a couple of thousand people in Endeavour in London at the end of that, at something like 98, 99% automation. So safety drivers only having to take over very, very rarely, which is a really good indication for us how we go forward and how we remove the safety driver totally. RoboPilot, Arrival and UPS working to deliver an electric UPS van. Demonstrations in the coming weeks of their on-road capability, but successful demonstrations of full autonomy, no human in the vehicle at all, as it doing its depot operations, driving into the depot, parking in the right location, getting offloaded, driving to the wash centre, getting washed, driving to the charging centre, getting charged, driving to get loaded, and back out of the depot, all without human intervention. So really good demonstration of what's capable when you're not on the road and you have to abide by road laws. Cav Forth, 5 12-metre long single-decker buses running a 14-mile route over the River Forth, that's right, River Forth into Edinburgh, looking to be on the road spring, early summer next year, being delayed by coronavirus and a few other issues, but really good, really high profile. You see the world talk about bus trials and bus deployments. It's all shuttles, it's all small 6 to 8 seater vehicles. This will be the first full-size, fully autonomous bus to hit the road, fingers crossed. Unfortunately, it's a diesel bus. When we started that project, doing an electric bus and an autonomous bus at the same time was just going to be too complex. So we went with a diesel bus, and it's still proving to be massively complex. Serve City, top right, the successor to Nissan's Human Drive project. They are coming into London. How do we deal with London traffic and London pedestrians? That is still at that kind of robo-taxi sort of level of learning. And then Multicav, running out of Didcot Parkway to Milton Park. They already do mobility as a service there. They have e-scooters, e-bikes that you can hire. They have an app which helps you plan your journey from Milton Park from Didcot Parkway into Milton Park, helping you use public transport rather than your own vehicle to get to work. And then there's going to be an electric minibus and this time an electric bus doing that route as well. So some options there for people to get out of their cars and onto public transport. Bottom right-hand corner is the other successes. Sadly, the bottom right one is Delta Motorsports, now Delta Cosworth. We did fund that project under AIDCAV, but the other three we haven't directly funded. Top left is Oxbotica and Ocado and Applied EVs, announcement that they're working together to deliver a food delivery service for Ocado. Top right is Cargo, a slightly bugged-looking EV, AV, doing pharmaceutical trials in West London, so delivering from a pharmacy to care homes and people's homes. And then bottom left is Arrigo's luggage dolly that they've been trialling with BAE and Heathrow Airport, improving the efficiency of the movement of your luggage. And again, fantastic stuff that we've not directly funded, but I believe our involvement in these companies has helped get them to the level where they are, where they can do those businesses outside of our support. And hopefully we can continue that work in the coming years. I'm looking forward to getting the top left one through an advanced trial, because that's going to challenge all of us. I've mentioned CAM Testbed a few times, other people have as well. Really proud of the investment, really good capability here in the UK that is standing the UK in good stead going forward. Everything from simulation all the way through to on-road trials at Smart Mobility Living Lab and Midlands Future Mobility, and everything in between. I'll let others talk in more detail, but again, a core part of our spending review bid going forward is that continuation of this work. We need to be able to prove the vehicles are safe. How do we do that? And CAM Testbed is part of that solution. Dave mentioned it earlier in his talk, the call for evidence. We launched a CAM call for evidence earlier this year, June, July sort of time, looking to form evidence for the spending review bid. So we're interested in identifying areas of UK competitive advantage. Where can we make money now? Where can we commercialise now? What are the current barriers? What is slowing down that commercialisation and scale up of CAM? Getting some really good industry evidence for government of where this industry, where this sector is supporting the wider government goals. And this shows you some of our hurdles. When the government priorities went out, it was net zero, obviously, levelling up, and global something or other, which I've forgotten. For us now, it is ENZI, enterprise, net zero, and innovation. So in the course of 4 months, what we're targeting for and the language we're using has shifted massively. And I'm happy to say our minister stayed yesterday, so we don't have to redo all of this for a different minister. So hopefully we're in good stead. But it was a really good feedback. More than 50 organisations came back to us answering the more than 30 questions that we put out there. And it was really good. It highlighted the strengths that we had, the weaknesses that we needed to overcome, and really did highlight the role of government in all of this. And it's not just about money. Yes, money is important, money helps the world go round, but also it's about the skills and the training, as been highlighted by AESIN, APC, and it's about where we're fitting in the government vision. Where do we take it forward? We've said 2030 for decarbonisation. Well, what's the target for CAM? What is the target? We're trying to get people out of their own private vehicles into mobility as a service. We set that target, we can work towards it. Bringing together, and everybody said this morning, it's such a key point, the collaboration between all the different organisations, the academics, the industry, us in public sector, but also the public themselves. How do we get them involved? How do we bring all that together? I've mentioned the strategic direction, and then top left is, as I say, bringing the public along on this journey. We've done a really good stab at it so far. The trials we've done have always had public involved. How do we make that so it's not just kind of a joyride? It's not getting in a car, being driven for 5 miles and go, oh, that was interesting. You're actually putting it in as part of their journey, and you're letting them experience the benefit of connected and automated mobility. I don't know how long I've got. So I'm going to just talk about the spending review. We've mentioned it. It should be announced at the end of October. Our focus alongside Bayes Auto, who are the key government links into the APC and the ATF, has been automation, connectivity and electrification. ACE, so we switch between ACE and CAM, but for us our focus is on the 4 bullets along the bottom. Large-scale commercial deployment. We can do this at a small scale. How do we make sure that it is scalable, it's deployable, and it's of benefit? How do we accelerate those? How do we make sure that everybody's journey is as effective as it can be? AESIN and others have mentioned the supply chain already. We need to anchor key elements of the supply chain here in the UK. What areas do we focus on, and where does that investment go to best push us forward and compete? We're never going to be able to match the size of the money elsewhere in the world, but we can certainly match and do better when it comes to some of the skills and technologies that we can do here in the UK. How do we focus on those? How do we grow them? And it isn't just about the ADS, the driving system. It's about the sensors, already mentioned. It's about simulation. It's about verification and validation. How do we do that? Sovereign capabilities. What does the UK need to own to be able to assure its own safety and security? If we're importing everything from overseas, it's very hard to do cybersecurity. So what do we need to do here in the UK to found that up? Sensors is one of my passion pieces. Being able to V&V sensors is really important. And how do we do that here in the UK? What's missing globally that we can do here that we can then sell globally? And then finally, public and global engagement. How do we sell the UK to the rest of the world as a place to come and do business? How do we bring the public along on this journey and encourage them to take part? But also, how do we do STEM outreach? How do we get people interested in science, technology, engineering, maths? We've, for the not last year, but the previous 2 years, we funded the IMechE Formula Student. They now have an autonomous driving challenge under that. I want to continue that work. I want to push it harder. I want to sponsor students and universities to get part of that project and really start developing the skill sets that the companies need to really push this forward. And this is my last slide. So next steps for the wider CCAV. I've said it, I'll say it again, mobility for all. It's not just about the number of vehicles, it's about changing people's journeys. improving and encouraging the government and industry partnerships, bringing in the public, and then wider for government, supporting our recovery from COVID and supporting economic growth. So that's it from me.